On today's show, this is K-Rockcast, the podcast where music and perspectives collide.
I'm Anne, a music lover who's the ultimate fan.
And I'm Kelly, a professional musician. Join us as we dive into the world of the Rose and other Korean and Asian rock bands.
Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes we'll wildly disagree, but what's guaranteed is a passionate, hilarious, and unfiltered conversation about the music that unites us and the bands that inspire us. Hi, everybody. We're back. We're here today for our second deep dive into Korean rock band CNBLUE. We're going to be exploring their new album, Threology, in a series of episodes. I'm excited for this, Kelly. Today, we're going to deep dive into the first two tracks, and we're going to talk about this really creative marketing strategy that they had for this comeback. So why don't you kick us off with giving us an overview on this marketing strategy?
So first I want to say, this album is amazing, but the marketing strategy for this was insane. Literally, it kicked off, I think, about 3 weeks before the release of the album, and they went to town. So there were lots of lovely little sort of clips of things, but then we got into this absolute genius breakdown of the live challenge of Killer Joy. And this was basically the guys playing the intro with what must be everybody they know in their phone book, because there was at least 40 featured artists. Every day there was a new artist.
Today, as of today when we're recording, but there could be more that keep popping up.
I'm sure. I think they've all gone through their phone and gone, let's just ring everybody. Just send out a mass text and go, right, we need you in the studio. So they've obviously recorded this. They must have recorded it in a short period of time, but it probably a day or two, because of the actual setup didn't really alter that much. And it's them in a very small studio, set up as a small rehearsal space. And we have various fantastic singers coming in from every single type of Korean band that you can think of. So to name a few, and I am going to murder half of these names, we have Hong Jong from ATEEZ, we have Wendy from Red Velvet, Young Hae-in, who is an actor, so we'd even got actors in there as well. Obviously, we got Hongi from FT Islands, and I think we both did a collective, yay!
We killed it, by the way. He killed it.
He was the best without a shadow of a doubt. We have Yunin Kai from TXT, Young K from Day 6, Jong Hae from Super Junior, and DK from 17. And as I've said, I've probably murdered half those names, but hey ho, Anne gave me that one out of sheer evilness, because that's what she's like. Any other language, no problem. But she gives these to me. Yeah, thanks for that. Anyway, but no, I have never seen such a genius marketing strategy. It was brilliant.
It was so fun.
It was like a Christmas advent calendar. It's like you opened up, it's like, what have I got today?
I know.
It just keeps coming.
I know, it's so true. And like you said, it was from all over Korean music, right? Like it was artists like Young K, who's Day 6, who's another band, but then it was someone from 17 and TXT, who are straight like K-pop idol.
Yeah, exactly. It was everybody.
Yeah, it was so fun.
It honestly, I really enjoyed it. I also like the fact that the live challenge bit covered who the person was for like the first bar before it dropped, and it's like, ta-da! Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a genius plan, but that is one hell of a way to make sure an earworm sticks in your head and doesn't leave you, because it's just there on repeat, but it's a slightly different voice every time. But you remember the melody because it's just there and ever present. Whoever came up with that one, pat on the back, you are a marketing genius.
Yeah, we created a great mashup, and this is only a few of these incredible artists that Kelly mentioned. I know I still have it on my to-dos to make a part 2 to this mashup since there are literally 40
I could say it's like
artists total, but
part
let's give this
57 at
mashup a
this rate.
listen. All right, let's give
Keep
this a
going.
listen. All right, I love that mashup, and I have to say, like, I just laughed about a few things on this. One, I said to you in text, how tired must the band members be of now playing this little clip that they had to do it so many times?
Now. It's just like, I'm sick of this song. I'm sick of it.
They must be so sick of it. But we're going to deep dive into this song here in a moment. But you said it. It's an earworm.
Oh
the melody is so catchy.
Yeah.
So like you said, it was just such a great creative way to get it in people's head. But then the diversity of the featured artist. So now it's spreading CNBLUE and this song across so many different other fandoms, because you might love TXT and you didn't really listen to CNBLUE, but you heard Huening Kai and you're like, what is this? I love this. Yeah, and it's getting you to listen. So genius. Smart.
Genius.
Yeah.
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 Some people really ought to take a leaf out of that book.
Oh my God. And I keep saying, like, Hajun would kill on this. Where's my Hajuni? Yeah. Was he not in the phone book? I mean, I guess they don't really know. We know that Woo-sung just met Younghwa last year. That didn't sound like they had really known each other before. But like, come on, dude. Like, call Hajun. He would have killed it. Maybe he'll pop up. You never know. They probably aren't done. It's like every day a new one comes up. Like,
I think they've done one for every day of the year. To just see out these people. It's madness, but absolute genius as well.
I think another thing you mentioned a little bit in your overview that I've just really appreciated is I feel like this campaign is showing their personalities in a way that it's like fun, lighthearted, because this album, we're only going to go into the 2 tracks, but you guys will hear, listeners and viewers, when we talk about these 2 tracks, very upbeat, very energetic, fun music.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, again, that marketing campaign just it complemented so well this album so far in terms of what we're going to talk about. There's some slower tracks on it, but I think overall it's a very bright, upbeat album. So yeah, kudos to CNBLUE. So smart. Love it. So now let's go into Threeology. Let's talk about the release information. This album was released on January 7th, 2026, released under their label FNC Entertainment, distributed by Kakao Entertainment. It came out as a physical CD, digital download, and available for streaming across streaming platforms. It has 10 tracks, which that's exciting. So many artists nowadays are honestly putting out more EPs.
Exactly. Or they're saying it's an album and actually it's an EP. That happens a hell of a lot.
Yeah. So it's just so great to see them put out 10 solid tracks on this album. It's the group's 3rd full-length Korean studio album and their first in over a decade. So the last one they came out with was Together in 2015. So maybe that's some of the connection. We were laughing, Kelly and I, listeners and viewers, on like, how do you say this? So we're going with Threeology. And it's interesting that their last full-length studio album was 2 with the number, the digit 2 together. Maybe this is a theme for them. Not sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're pronouncing that right. So let's go into track 1, Ready, Set, Go, which is the perfect title as we're going to get into the melody analysis and the theme in the lyrics. This was arranged and composed and also lyricist by our main guy, Jung Young-hwa. Rock Chain was also arranger and composer, and Callie Lehman was also served as composer and lyricist. So, Kelly, why don't you kick us off with our melody analysis?
Yeah, so this is a 4 to the floor, absolute fantastic entrance to an album. There's no other way of describing it. So it's 179 beats per minute, so it is power out the gate immediately.
Oh, yeah.
It's in D major, so the chords that are used throughout it are D major, G major, A major, and B minor, just for a little bit of variation there. The drums are 4/4 all the way through, and there's this beautiful, really heavy snare hit on every second and fourth, and it's gorgeous because it just drives home what this song is doing. There's a really nice use of a hi-hat pattern in there, which mimics traditional British rock. It's very much Min Hyuk's style. It's this punchy style that he's known for. He is a little driving engine behind them. He's fantastic. I think he's fantastic, but that's a different thing. And then we have, and then the bass is gorgeous on this, and you can tell that Youngshin has gone for this. I think it's probably a Fender Jazz that he's used on this because it's got this really warm, thick, low end rumble with it. And when you listen to it on headphones, it's kind of gorgeous, and it's like that's a nice use of an instrument there. The vocals are very heavily led all the way through it, but very tightly woven, and it's done in a way that it creates almost like stadium rock gang vocals. So a gang vocal is normally the entire band sort of shouting into a microphone, so that's why they call it a gang vocal. But it's done in such a way that there isn't like an overriding voice in there, so it doesn't get noisy. It blends really well. And also the way that it's been mixed in is very clever because she doesn't get stuck behind that distorted guitar, because a lot of times, because you're sharing the same frequency with vocals and the guitar, sometimes it can kind of get muddy, which is why you tend to sort of, as silly as it sounds, that's why you have like a vocal piece like your bridge, and then it'll go out into a guitar solo, so they don't overlap and become too noisy. Now, this song is great, and I was sat listening to it earlier on, and I was thinking, there's something about the sound of this that sounds really familiar. And I know a lot of people have said it's kind of because it's Britpop, and I don't know why this came to me, because this isn't a band that I have listened to in years. But I suddenly thought, oh my God, it sounds like the Long Pigs, who were a band from Sheffield, with the guitarist is a guy called Richard Hawley, and he is exceptionally well revered in the British music scene as being just this amazing guitarist. And there's that similar guitar sound to it. So it's got that northern sleaze guitar sound to it that is very typical of sort of like mid 90s, sort of like 96, 97, 98 guitar sound. And it's just such a vibe. I love it. It's great. It's just upbeat and fun.
Yeah, I mean, upbeat, fun, the drive, it just hits you, like you said. What an
Yeah.
incredible way to kick off the album, because it just hits you right
Yeah.
in your face. Again, another catchy melody, right? We said that about Killer Joy. This to me has a very catchy melody as well.
Yeah.
And then I think what you said, for you, the familiarity hit the Brit pop. For me, it felt familiar too, but for me, it was a little different. Like, I felt like I was in an 80s movie. I felt like it would have been the song on a soundtrack to kind of a teen 80s movie, like a rom-com kind of fun teen 80s movie. I think what hit that for me was this inclusion of these ahs. Ah, like that made it feel kind of this 80s sound. And then it feels like what we'll get into the lyric meaning here in a moment, but the melody feels like you're on a chase. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can see in my mind like almost like a car chase, like you're driving a fast
Yeah.
car and you've got the wind in your hair, and to be like playing this song in the background would just be such an incredible feeling. Like that's exactly what the melody conjures, which is then exactly, kind of what he'll be talking about here in the lyrics. But I love this song. It was such a fun song.
It's a really great song to start the album off because it just stamps it immediately. It literally is ready, set, go. Are you ready for this? And you can tell
Yeah.
that I don't want to say they've labored over this album, but they've spent their time doing it, and it's been done with such
Mm.
love and conviction every step of the
Mm.
way. I mean, the musicianship on this album is beautiful. The production on it is so good, and it picks from all sorts of different areas of music, blends them so well, and it's done
Mm.
effortlessly though. It doesn't feel contrived. You don't listen to it and go, "Oh, that song is that." And you can hear it melody for melody. Like I said with this, kind of reminds me of the Long Pigs because the guitar is similar to that, but it's reminiscent of. It's yeah, exactly, and but you can hear that in lots of the other ones. So there's that familiarity, and they've kind of gone through their playbook and gone, I like this sound, let's use that. And I, to me, that's the mark of amazing musicians to be able to do that. I love this album so much.
Yeah. Yeah, Younghwa is such a tremendous
Mm,
songwriter. I think his songwriting skills seem to, as I've been digging more into their discography through the podcast, I feel like I can see a real evolution in his ability as a songwriter from kind of their
yeah.
earlier discography. So let's give a listen to this incredible driving melody. All right. Now, so that's the melody, Kelly. Let's dig into what he means by ready, set, go. Um, I personally, I loved his lyricism in this. I think he
Yeah.
had some really, really great imagery, and I love that. I
Yeah.
personally gravitate
Yeah.
to good imagery that's brought up within
Yeah.
lyrics. When we talked about Love Cut in the first deep dive episode we did, I commented about the lyricism there, that I
Yeah.
really loved the lyrics in Love Cut in a similar way. That's how I feel about these. So start with kind of your general assessment on what he's saying in this song, what this song's about.
I mean, to me, this song is literally just about letting go. It's about just being yourself and pushing
Mm.
forward and just not necessarily sort of chasing something, but knowing that you're actually going to get there. I mean, it's where you could take the fact that it's sort of like you're chasing a dream, but actually
Mm.
they don't need to chase it. They know they're going to get it. I mean, it's there. I mean, they just
Yeah.
need to make the decision
Yeah.
and go. And I really, really like that about this. I mean, I think there's some very clever uses of um, visuals and analogies, and just it's. I mean, I think one of the things, obviously, with it being a very heavily split, because one of the things that CNBLUE tend to do is they very heavily split the lyrics. So you do get this very
Mm.
sort of 75-25 split when it comes to sort of Korean and English. Um,
Mm.
Sometimes you can find that the beauty of some of the Korean language kind of gets lost. I mean, I find this sometimes that it kind of gets lost a little bit because the tag words at the end of the sentence are in English. So it kind of sometimes feels a little bit disjointed. But saying that, it's still so well done, and it's just really enjoyable. But yeah, I love this song, really did.
Yeah, I think some of the lyrics in English, and we'll have our full English translations available, viewers and listeners, to you as well. Always check that out on our website. I like, don't even let fate chase you.
Yeah.
I believe in a world I don't know yet. The day I didn't know yet, comma, I'm chasing. I think that resonated with me, kind of adding on to what you shared in your perspective. I think like I resonated with that from feeling like I think myself at times I can kind of aspire or like hope for this future that I don't know what it is, but in a way I feel helpless because I don't know what it is. So it's just kind of like giving up to just, well, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But then I think what he's saying to me is, it's like, no, I'm not just giving it up to fate and letting fate control me. I don't know what my future is, but I'm in control of what it will be. And I guess that kind of perspective, I find it very inspiring, of taking ownership and action and control over your future, even if you don't know what the outcome is yet. You're not just sitting back and saying, well, whatever will be, I'll just hope for the best. It's like he's trying to make his own future through controlling it. And I think there's empowerment in that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, one of my favorite lines is, no matter how many times I tie the string. I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's like, it doesn't matter how often you do something, eventually it's going to work out. And this sort of positivity behind it. It's just like, come on, I can't leave this up to whatever the universe says is going to. I mean, I've got to do it. I've got to get up, dust myself down, and get on with it. And I think it's such a lovely part of that song, and it also leads to that sort of triumphantness. I mean, it really is throwing your hat in the ring and going, right, come on, just get on with this. But I mean, there are sort of darker lyrics in there. You know, it's like, try throwing yesterday's day behind me. It's like, yeah, shit hit the fan, but you know, I got to get up, do it again. And that's
I think this other lyric was kind of dark. He says, there was no light on the rough road. The future I missed, comma, I carry it on my back and run again. I think that goes to what you said a moment ago. You know, when he's faced setbacks and challenges, that's, to me, the future I missed, right? Maybe what an opportunity could have been, or maybe even where he thought his life would be, or his career would be.
Yeah.
He's carrying it on his back. So it's like, it's still part of him, but he's picking himself up.
Yeah.
And he's not just going forward, but he says running again.
It's full power.
Right?
There's that. It's a brick wall, and one day he's going to go through it. I mean, the line, go towards the sun, even if it swallows me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you want to do. Sod it. You just go for it. Put your head down and charge at the wall. Hopefully you'll go through. I love these lyrics. I love this song. I really do. I think I
love it too.
this is when we first spoke about them. This is one of the things we discussed, how far his songwriting, his actual lyric writing has come. Because if you listen to the really early stuff, it's good, but it's kind of clunky in places. Whereas this has got a lot more sort of imagery and metaphor and everything else in there, but it's so beautifully done, and it's very human as well, which is so nice. Because I sometimes think you don't necessarily get that with a lot of writers. They just go for the beautifulness of a word or a phrase. Whereas with this, you know, he sat there and gone, oh God, have I got to do this again? Yeah, come on, let's get on with it. It's the good old British. Right then, let's do it.
Yeah. Yes, and I like what I alluded to earlier, that I think the melody matches the theme of what he's saying in the lyrics so well, right? We talked about this driving fast pace. We feel like we're in a car with the wind in our hair, and that's how he's kind of approaching life, right? And what he's saying in this song. I think this song was just, as you would say, brilliantly done. And what an incredible way to start the album. But it doesn't end there. We go right from Ready, Set, Go into Killer Joy, another incredible driving track. So Kelly, why don't you break down Killer Joy for us?
Right, so track 2 is Killer Joy, and as we have already said, this is the ultimate earworm. It has been stuck in my head since it was very first released. There's absolutely no sign of it going anywhere. It literally, there you go. I've got the chorus in my head again because I've said the words. So, lyrics, Young Young Wah and Wooton. And it was composed by Young Young Wah and Kwon Ya-hee, and it was arranged by Rock Chain and Kwon Ya-yoon. But firstly, and this was a tidbit I found while I was just looking for something earlier on, apparently Killer Joy is the first CNBLUE track that all 3 members have actually had a credit on as production.
Oh, wow.
Which I didn't know. So that's a little tidbit that I was like, ooh, didn't know that. I'll scribble that one down. So this is a little bit slower. So obviously, full, ready, set, go. Straight against the wall. Obviously, they've rebound a little bit and come back. So this is 135 beats per minute. And it is in the key of C sharp major. The main progression is C sharp major, F sharp, G sharp, and A sharp minor. The guitars on this, bloody brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I love this. There's so many bits in the actual musicality of this that you could spend all day just going, oh, and on this bar there's this, and oh, and on this bar there's this. But if we do that, we're going to be here all week, and you don't want me going to that level because I don't think my brain can cope with it. So I'm going to pick out my highlights. There is this gorgeous bit of palm muting on the guitar when it very first starts out, and it's just to let it creep in, and there's a tiny little bit of delay on it, and that's in the intro and as it goes into the verse. And the whole idea with palm muting is it gives you the sound of guitar, but it's more rhythmic, and then it allows for this huge expanse of sound and the dynamic as you kick into the chorus. So you go from this sort of chug. Chug is the word. That is how most musicians would describe it. It's chugging along. And then obviously it goes from a chug to a ring and the full force kicks in. You've got these really gorgeous guitar licks that sit in between the vocals. So this is what I was describing earlier on, that the first track's really well blended when you've got these gang vocals and then this distorted guitar in it, because it's in the same sort of frequency territory, so it can get very muddy. So what they've done with this one is you'll have a vocal and then you'll get sort of like a call and response with a guitar lick, which is just chef's kiss. It's a beautiful little bit, and it's so quick and it's so subtle. And I mean, sometimes I don't even think you notice it's there, but they're just these little sort of nuances that just make this song so great and such an earworm. The bridge uses A sharp minor and G sharp, and that's to create tension, because you've kind of moved away from it. So you've got this minor chord in there that just puts you ever so slightly on ease. It doesn't make you feel terrible. We're not talking psycho, but I mean, it does give you that sort of little twinge. But what they do, which is so brilliant with this, is it kicks back into the chorus, and the chorus is C sharp major. Now, C sharp major is basically what you use if you want anything that's triumphant. So anything that is from the classical world, normally used at military parades and everything like that. C sharp major, folks, that's what it is. So you get this beautiful resolve in the last chorus because you've had this sort of twinge beforehand in the bridge.
Hey, I love I love when you give the technical analysis, and then I love looking at my notes when I say the same thing but in layman's terms because I don't know, right? So I always say in this podcast, like, I go off more like feeling, but I made the same like observation in the bridge. I thought it was so interesting that it was this kind of stark tempo change then in the bridge that made you feel very different than this kind of drive, upbeat, big sound throughout in the chorus. But then they bring you back at the very end to this chorus, this original tempo. So the bridge was such this kind of different tempo change, feeling change. But of course, I didn't know the technical differences in the key that they're doing and kind of that why. But I really noticed that too, which I think was something I honestly wasn't expecting the first time I heard the song. And kind of made it different.
To be just keep going, and it doesn't. And that's the brilliance. That's the brilliance of a good song and a fantastic bridge, because a bridge is exactly that. It's a bridge to somewhere else. It shouldn't just be this thing that is sort of put there. It's like, what do we do in this third of the song? Let's do something. It isn't for that. The whole idea with the bridge is it is to create a tension, to pull you back to the main theme of the song. And you tend to find all good, and I'm going to say pop, but I'm going to say pop as in popular. All good pop songs do this. It doesn't matter if it's Gilbert and Sullivan or if it's the Prodigy. Oh God, they all do it. They all have this ability. And that is one of the reasons this song is a goddamn earworm. It's not just the vocals, I mean the music. If you listen to this without the vocals, I mean, it's one of those where you're just like, oh, God, it's still stuck there. You're humming the melody. It does not go away, folks. I apologise in advance if you haven't listened to this song, because you are going to be hearing it now for the next 3 months in your own head.
It'll be stuck in your head for sure.
Yes, exactly.
No way around it.
No way. Drums. So let's get back to Min Hyuk. It is a 4/4 time signature. The drums are so interesting on this. They're not difficult by any stretch of the imagination, but they are the driving force of the dynamic of this song. So in the intro, in the first verse, the drums are so minimalistic. It's there, but kind of there. It's just kind of just jogging along. It's keeping time. It's just making you aware that it's there. And then out of nowhere, when we get to the chorus, this great big fat groove comes in and it's locked in. And this is the nice thing about it. So what actually happens is you've got the bass and the drums, and they lock in all the way through this. And you get this dynamic where the bass almost sounds a little bit like a heartbeat. And you get that sort of edge with it, but because it's being bolstered by sort of like a tom hit and a snare hit, you kind of get that da-dum, da-dum. It's very subtle, but it's there, and it is so clever. Then what happens is it goes into this great big fat groove out of nowhere, and it's just joyful, and it's just like you want to move to it. It's got that sort of almost like pogo type sort of punk scene thing sound to it. It makes you want to jump up and down, and that's the genius behind it. And that's why the tension is held in that first quarter of the song to release it into the chorus, because if it came out of the gate and it was just 4/4, it had been boring, but he held it back and kept it minimalist, and then he can literally just explode through the rest of the song. And then you get this pullback again when you get to the bridge, which is another reason that you get this extra dynamic with it. And there's some really beautiful drum rolls on this as well. So he has these little drum rolls and fills that just kind of come in out of nowhere, but they just accent little sections that if that drum roll wasn't there, the song wouldn't have the same impact. It is so beautifully done. And this song, honestly, first time I heard it, I was like, oh, I like that. Second time I heard it, it was like, oh, okay, this is going on repeat. And then third time I heard it, and I thought, nope, this song's never coming out of my head. And then, of course, we've had this amazing marketing campaign as well. So it's just like there was cat in hell's chance that it was ever going anywhere else. But yeah, this is great. This song, I would dare to say, I think Killer Joy is actually one of their best songs. As a pop song,
yeah,
genius.
I definitely agree in terms of like probably commercial marketability. I feel like this song could catapult them across new listenership and bring in a lot more listeners to CNBLUE that haven't heard of them. I think a couple other aspects I'll just note before we go in, hear another clip and go into the lyric analysis. I think some of else in the lyrics of what makes it this anthem style song is this like bang bang they kind of have in the lyrics that whenever an artist is including something like that, it gives you as the listener something to sing to, like a chant or an anthem. Yeah. And I feel like that adds to the catchiness and making it something that you're not going to easily forget. I just love the way he ends.
As well with that bang bang, it does a rhythmic thing. It's not necessarily a lyric, it's a bang bang. So you know damn well that when this is played in concert, it's a clap, and you know that the audience are ready to do that. It's clever. It's really clever. I always wonder though whether or not when they're writing the lyrics and they're like, is this the inclusion? Do we put this in here? Or if it's literally one of those things where they're in the studio and somebody just goes, oh, there should be a clap there. And it's like, yeah, but a clap doesn't work. Maybe we just say something, and obviously tied it into the idea of Killer Joy and the rather fun video that goes along with this.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I really enjoy at the end, just the way he ends with these talking kind of vocals. And he just says, my name, Killer Joy. I just love the way he ends with that. It's kind of like a mic drop moment to me. Like it sounds so badass and so cool. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's go into a clip. Why don't we give a listen to this incredible bridge that we've been talking about? All right, so now that we're back from that amazing melody, let's talk about the lyrics. So this is kind of interesting, Kelly. I want your take because I have to say, like, I kind of only have one line in my notes. Like, I feel like this song's a little light on meaning, which is not, I'm not saying that it's like a bad thing. But it wasn't like this like more in-depth analysis I feel like I just did for Ready, Set, Go of what he's talking about. Like, so I'll start with you because you tend to go deeper than I do. What's your meaning behind this song?
I think this song's liberty and freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of get lost behind the idea of killer because, I mean,
right,
kind of throws you a bit. You're like, Killer Joy. It's like, because I mean, obviously it's like Killer Joy. You're like, is this Killjoy, or is it the Killer of Joy, or whatever it is?
Right.
But I mean, I've had this on repeat. I mean, I was on the train yesterday and I'd literally got this on loop listening to it. And I just had a really weird thought go through my head. Because I mean, it's very obvious that it's about joy and liberty and freedom and party. I mean, I won't say it's about partying. You get that more from the sort of feeling of the music. But one of the things that went through my head was it felt a little bit like the uprising last year. And I know that's probably going really way too deep with it, but this feels just like a very veiled, pop sprinkled way of explaining something that could have been terrible. And the fact that the people took to the streets and very peacefully protested in the square, waving their light sticks, singing K-pop songs to depose a government. And this, and the reason this kind of sticks in my head is this one line in it, which is "Sleeping soul is getting louder."
Yes, that is an interesting lyric.
And I found
You're
that
right.
strange because it was kind of, I mean, this thing behind it. I mean, obviously, there's lots of little lines that sort of like relate to sort of crosshairs and I have you in my target and all this, that, and the other. But if you think about what was happening at the time, and I'm probably reading way too much into this, but this was just something that came to my head, and I was just like, if you were going to write about something without writing about it, this would be how you do it. This would be
what a creative perspective. I love that. I just wrote this one line. This song is about letting go and having a good time. And I think that liberty, that freedom to me is it, and it's about, I like how he starts it, you know, you who's holding your breath is my target tonight. I feel like what he's saying there is like holding your breath to me is almost you who's holding this level of stress and let it go. I'm coming in and that's my target. I'm like killing that with joy in a way, you know, of just allowing you this freedom to put your hands up, hot sweat flowing, both out of breath. I like that too, because I think of when you're, I don't know that anybody goes to dance clubs much anymore. I feel like this younger generation doesn't really do that. But when I was in my 20s, I used to go to dance clubs all the time. And one of the best feelings was you're just out on the dance floor, packed there together, sweating your ass off, dancing to incredible music. And the level of freedom I always would feel that I had at that moment. That's what I feel like when I was reading these lyrics, is that just freedom of letting it all go, all worries fade away, make a crazy night a killer joy.
See, now that's the thing, because that's one of the lines as well that kind of made me wonder about the whole thing last year. Because I mean, this would have been around the time he was writing the lyrics for this. This would have been around writing the lyrics, getting into the studio to do it. You know, make a crazy night a killer joy for you. And I mean, that was one weird ass night. I mean, literally everything that was happening, and people were just very peacefully going, "What's happening?" It's so insane. But yeah, it's either very, very simplistic, and he just had this idea of a video came to mind where they were all literally just going to go and be snipers and shoot people with the gun sticks and, you know, the headstocks. And then he wrote a song around it, which could be. I know musicians that have wrote lyrics off the back of an idea for a video. And you're like, seriously? They're like, yeah, no, seriously. And it's just like, how have I got into the top 20 with that? I was like, I don't know, but we did. These people have ended up charting with some of these songs, and it's literally just an idea for a video that they've had. But it could be that, or it could be something that is quite big and sincere and a big idea, but it's been very politely cushioned and sort of bedazzled, so it's easily digestible.
I know. Yeah. I really like your creative perspective on maybe it's, a very subtle way to talk about what happened in South Korea last year or so. I love that. Either way, I think it's an incredible song. I love it. It's on repeat for me. I listen to it quite a bit in kind of my regular playlist that I have for myself. So that was the first two tracks on Threology by CNBLUE. We have just gotten started on this album. We will be revisiting this throughout the coming months as we explore this in a series of episodes. I can't wait, Kelly, for some other songs that are a little different. There are some slower tracks that we're going to get into. So not everything's this driving power of Ready, Set, Go and Killer Joy. So I love that they have some diversity on this album as well. All right, let's wrap up today. A little bit of a different kind of humor segment today. This isn't CNBLUE focused or the Rose focused. This is kind of more of an open-ended would you rather for you. Yeah. So maybe not quite as painful as some of my others in the past. Taking it easy on you in season 2. I'm getting too easy. All right. So would you rather, Kelly, only be able to listen to your favorite band, which let's ask that. Who would you say right now, if you had to say your favorite band, who are you going to say that is?
Of all time? Probably Queen.
Yeah, if I just your favorite band off the top of your head right now.
Probably Queen.
Okay. Their worst song.
They didn't have any.
Their worst song. Your least favorite.
My favorite bands.
Your least favorite of their songs.
How could Freddie and Brian May write something terrible? How dare you?
I'm not. Okay, your least favorite. On repeat for a year. This is the only song you're able to listen to.
Okay.
Or you can never listen to Queen again. You're only allowed to watch a live performance of Queen on mute.
Right. Clarifying question.
I love it.
So the clarifying question is, can it be literally any footage of Queen?
Oh, yes. Yeah, you can watch anything, but it's on mute.
Okay. But it's on mute.
So you can never hear them again.
Okay.
Never hear their music again.
I know pretty much every single word, every single harmony, most of the guitar licks. So I'm going to say I will never listen to them again and watch them on mute, because I can literally just sing along in my head because I already know all of it inside out, back to front. So no, I'll do that.
What's your least favorite song of theirs?
Honestly, I don't think there is one. Honestly and truthfully, there's songs that I don't listen to as much as others. But I grew up in a house of Queen. If you don't like this music, leave the house. And yeah, no, there aren't any, whether it's Fat Bottom Girls or whether it's Bohemian Rhapsody or Who Wants to Live Forever or Sail Away Sweet Sister, which is one of my favorite songs.
Why didn't you pick
that?
Time. Because then you could listen to at least one song of theirs.
Yeah, but on repeat for a year? And that's the only thing you can listen to? No, that's torture.
Yeah. Is that too much?
That's torture.
Okay.
No, that's too much. So I'd rather have them on mute and just have the sound in my head and do it that way. How about you? So who's your favourite band of all time?
I'm definitely going to say... It's really hard between BTS and The Rose.
Oh, I knew she was going to say that. You're so predictable. You're so predictable, woman.
Which I feel like for kind of both, I'm going the same thing with you. Like, I literally can have either of their performances on with no sound and know exactly what song it is and what they're saying. And I mean, I could guess BTS off of choreography alone, which I have won trivia by doing that before, believe it or not.
That's kind of worrying. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? I think I could do that. I've wanted to start a segment on K-Rock Cast of like, can you guess the Rose song by Woo-Sung's hand choreography?
That'd be too easy.
You know,
it would be too
easy. You know,
he
has the same hand choreography for like certain songs.
He does. Yeah. It's so repetitive.
It is so repetitive.
So repetitive.
I wanted to start that segment. Maybe someday I will. But I'm with you. I think I'm going to listen. I will not listen to them, but I can watch their live performances on mute and still be able to sing along and know exactly what's happening. Oh, that's fun. All right, viewers and listeners, tell us what you would pick. Tell us who your favorite band is of all time. And are you going to either listen to their worst song ever on repeat, only that song for a year? Or are you just going to watch their live performances with no sound and never listen to their music again? Tell us which you would pick. This was a fun episode. Excited. Let us know. Those of you who have already started exploring Threeology by CNBLUE. Tell us what you think of that album so far. What do you think of Ready, Set, Go and Killer Joy? What do you think of their marketing campaign? Let us know your thoughts and comments. We love that. Please rate our podcast. We also love to hear any feedback through email. You can always email us at krock.cast@gmail.com. Make sure you're following us across all of our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube. We are at KROK_cast all across the board.
Click here to subscribe.
Join us on Patreon if you haven't already. It's a lovely community. We are due pretty soon for another hangout, I think, for our paid Patreon members. So join us on Patreon if you want to come to our hangout, and check out our website, krockcast.com. We will have the English translation for these two songs off of Threeology by CNBLUE. We also have other translations for the Roses music, so check out our website. All right, see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.